Right now.
Right
now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because it's time to write now. Welcome to another session of the WriteNow Writers Group, where a bunch of writers come on screen and we talk all things writing. Maybe we procrastinate just a little bit, and we also try to get some writing done. So thank you for joining us. Today is our 33rd session, our 33rd meeting. I'm stoked to be here, and we love having you here in the chat. So whether you're joining us on stream or in the chat, come be a part of the conversation. Today, we're going to have a couple different writing conversations. You know what you're used to. And then we're going to be getting in 3 writing sprints because we got to make some progress on our writing. And that is the agenda. So welcome all. I'm Kaufman. As you know, I am the ringleader of this little crazy writing community right now, where I just try to help writers finish their book. So come join us because we're starting right now. And I will kick it off over to my wonderful co-hosts. Over to you, Crazy.
Hello there. The Crazy Root Beer is here. Earlier this morning, I just finished my book of Kara and Damon, where 2 characters from 2 separate books finally are in the same book together, trying to figure out who Kara is, and things get a little messed up. And obviously, I ended it on a sad note, yet on a cliffhanger as well, introducing 2 new characters that will come later on.
Love it. And by the way, just having finished your book this morning, Crazy, incredible. That's an incredible success. My hat's off to you, my friend, if I had my hat on right now.
Same here.
All right, Chris, take it away.
So I'm Chris. I usually use my tarot cards to help writers get out of writer's block. I also write teen YA stories in more of a TV format. It's weird to explain in an intro. I am currently trying to write Duncan, a Gay Teenage Witch, number 3, where it's Duncan's first kiss, but something's not speaking to me, so I might be working on something else today. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it vibes once we get to the writing.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm Chat Soul. Today I actually did the I did the last draft for the cover for Shifting Flame, my second book, and that should be coming out in June. I am nearly done with the editing. I still have the epilogue to write, but other than that, I am done with it. Well, nearly done with it. And physical copies for Burning Embers should be available by the end of March. I am just waiting on a physical proof copy, and that should be here in like 2 weeks, and then I can actually say, hey, you can buy a physical copy finally.
Woo! That is so exciting. So I'm really glad to hear that you're making some progress. That's what we can all hope for, right?
Yeah.
All right. And Calvin, on to you, my friend.
Hey guys, I'm Calvin. I just recently finished my first book, The Storm Chronicles. I am actually now working on the second Storm Chronicles book, Nox Infinita. And I'm hoping to have the first one out in like 5 to 6 months after it goes through a much needed editing phase. But here's hope. Keep my fingers crossed, and here's hoping.
Just around the corner, Calvin. Really glad to have you here, my friend. And Bobby, on to you.
Hello, guys. I'm Bobby, or Speedy, if you want to call me that. I'm currently writing my memoir. It's going pretty good. I actually, just before I realized we were going live tonight on Kaufman's channel, I didn't realize that till just before that, but I've hit over 5,000 words.
Woo! Yes, that's awesome.
If you hear wheels in the background, that's not me. But I've hit over 5,000 words already, and it's a general revision, like second or third revision. I don't even know what revision it's in. I've lost track by now. But that's me, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And awesome. I will shut up now.
Woo, Bobby, thank you for joining us. I love having you here, my friend. So what do we have for the community? So let me just welcome everyone to the chat. Rachel, glad to have you back. For anyone who was here earlier in the stream, we did an awesome writing session with Rachel helped me update the blurb of The Last Scarecrow. It was like, ooh, I'm like so happy that my blurb's only gone through like 100 variations, and this was 101, and it's even better than number 100. I keep thinking it can't get better, and then it does. So very, very grateful. Hats off to Rachel, and if anybody needs help with their blurb, Rachel's definitely the one to go to. And Megan, welcome, my friend. Welcome back. And let's see, I see a couple of us in here. ML, hope all is well today, my friend. Wondering how the writing is treating you, what you're working on. Lynn, glad to see you in here. Welcome, welcome. Stephanie, welcome back to the stream. Glad to have you over here from Twitch. Always, always welcome, our Twitch community. And I think, let's see, it looks like, and Tiara. Glad to have you as well, Tiara. I know you got a lot on your plate, so I'm really glad that you were able to join us as well. I just dropped a question down in the chat. I'm curious to see what everybody's working on today, because we're all working on different things, except for me. You guys know I only work exclusively on Scarecrow, as my mind is wrapped around scarecrows and demons and pixies. Oh my. So we'll see what craziness I get into today. Let's see. Megan's working on some fan fiction. I know, Sol, you're our other fan fiction nado here in the chat. Yep. I was like, I don't do too much fan fiction these days, but back in the day, in my starting days, and I think fan fiction is incredible for writers who are still getting an understanding of the craft. Not to say it's only for beginners, but I think it's a great starting place for writers.
Oh yeah, no, it is definitely the best place to start if you want to write and but you don't want to start a book yet. Fan fiction is your best bet, unless you're like a poet. And then there's like tons of poetry sites out there. But fan fiction is definitely like the best place for people to start. And then for people who are, experienced writers, well, it's just fun.
Especially when you really love like a show or like a series, and then you're like, well, now I want to go write those characters, or I feel like that character should have had this love interest, or they should have killed this character instead. You get to play the what if game with your writing.
It's always so much fun.
I love that. When I was young, I started off my fan fiction. I started off on role-playing forums with Harry Potter. I remember Harry Potter. I think I did a little Marvel superheroes back in the day. Yeah, I remember that. Exactly, crazy. That was the look. Hey, what's up, Nell? Welcome, my friend. Hopefully the writing's treating you well this evening. And let's see, Lynn, you're like, I will be writing on Ghost Book 5. Still, life keeps on getting in the way. You know what? That is always the challenge, right? How do we make time to write when we got responsibilities? And if we're not at a point where we're making a living full-time as an author or writer, unfortunately, our bills don't respond to, I just want to write for the fun of it, as we all know, right? So it's trying to find that balance until we can get to a point where it's sustainable. I totally feel you on that one.
That's why one of us just got a job at Target. So,
and you know what? There's absolutely no shame to that, because for us to be able to do what we do and for us to be able to do what we love, we have to figure out the logistical side of it. So
I haven't really told a lot of people about it. Now it's all over the internet, but there's a whole lot of anger around Target and the DEI stuff, and I'm just like, I'm not going to tell anybody where I got the job at, but I just
yeah, a lot of like political stuff. Like, oh, you're working for that company. I understand.
I just want to go and get a paycheck and come home and then work on my
understandable. Because nobody likes being stressed by bills, and I think most people agree that you probably need to eat. We live in a society where you got to pay money to eat and survive, especially in your area as well. I know, having been in LA for many, many years, I remember what that hustle was like.
Yeah, and the strikes and the entertainment industry is still not here, and I'm like, you know what? You guys go figure out your crap. I'm going to go over here for a little bit and just kind of work and make sure I can pay my bills and eat.
I know. Lynn was saying I work middle management at a health organization for the day job. And I totally feel you. I can tell you guys, right? So I worked about 15 years in customer service, predominantly in the coffee industry. I worked at a barista at many, many locations, Coffee Bean, Pete's, and then Starbucks. And Starbucks is where I worked my way up through management to become a manager. I quit Starbucks on 2 separate occasions. The first time I quit, I tried to do this, and I failed exponentially. I failed very, very poorly. And I was just way too stressed out to be able to actually afford life. I tried it a second time. It was slightly better. I wasn't as stressed, but I still just wasn't making enough money. And I felt like I kept running into a wall. And then come to this time, I had a point of just being super stressed with the day job at Starbucks. So I quit a third time. And here I am, a year and a half into being a daily motivational writer right now and all this jazz.
I can't get a job at Starbucks. I have no idea what's wrong with me.
You probably could. Chris, I could get you a job at Starbucks. I knew so many people in LA.
I've tried.
I really want to get a job at Starbucks.
I've sent resumes.
All they care about is that you're great at talking to people and that you work whatever hours the manager needs.
Well, whatever resume I sent to people, they did not want me at all.
Yeah, I mean, and you also get filtered out, right? And I think this is the hard thing with any employer and trying to hire. You're looking at 10, 20, 30 resumes, and you have to make a couple year investment in a 10 to 20 minute interview.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even get an interview.
Chris, I'll get you an interview if you want to work at Starbucks.
I don't know that I want to, but
I guess I need. But I mean, of the companies out there to work for, I do think that if you're going to work in retail, I think Starbucks is one of the better ones to work for at that pace and at that rate. Just for anyone getting customer service.
Everyone just kept telling me, go work for Starbucks. I'm like, I can't even get an interview, guys.
I probably applied to over like 30 to 50 Starbucks over a course of about 5 to 10 years before I finally got a position with one.
Oh, well, see, there you go. That's
probably I was just persistent. And then I happened to connect with who I sat down with, which was the store manager. We just made a great connection, and then I was the obvious fit. The store was a hot mess. That store was a hot disaster, that first one. But
I'm just 10 years behind you. That's all. I'm just 10 years behind you. I will eventually catch up so I can get that one job at Starbucks.
And I think that the biggest takeaway that I always want to leave people is that I don't give up. That's my biggest thing. Like, even if it takes me a couple years, even if I fail, like, let's say I fail at this part of my life with what I'm doing with right now, trying to be sustainable as a book editor and a writing coach. Even if I fail and I can't make enough money, I'll go get a job, I'll figure it out, and then I will try this again, because I know at the bottom of my heart and who I am that writing is what I love, and I'm not going to stop trying until I make that the reality that I want to live in. So it's hard though. It's not an easy thing. Yeah, it's not an easy thing. There's a reason that trying to do the self employed lifestyle is difficult. So,
just a piece of advice: don't ever work for Walmart. Either one of you all.
Don't work. Oh no, was that a bad experience for you?
Yes, and I will talk about that after the stream.
I always feel so bad because I mean, like I know as a customer mindset when I go to Walmart and Target, I know some really great people that have worked at both types of locations before, but then I see the way that they get treated and I just feel so bad for them. And maybe it's because I worked customer service for 10 years. Like, anybody who works customer service knows what it's like. If you haven't worked customer service, a little bit of a bubble.
I worked at a Food Line, which is a grocery store, for 5 years. I will be honest, you get some stories out of there. You get some stories of people, but yes, you do want to strangle people and just be like, "That's it, I'm done. I'm never coming back." I think
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the worst day I ever worked was that day in, I think, 2011, when the food stamp system went down and everyone is just complaining to me, and I'm thinking, like, I just walked in the store. I don't even know the food stamp system was down.
Oh god, it must have been a nightmare. That must have been an absolute nightmare.
I will be honest. By the end of my shift, my nerves were so raw. At one point, we had a woman who I had to explain to her, like, you have to ask people how they're paying, because every time you get to a certain point, I have to override. That gets sent to management, and then management wants to know why I've done so many overrides. So, and she was on her, I think, 37th time of not asking the damn question. So I'm doing an override. And most people, when we found out they couldn't use their food stamp, they just walked away. This guy was arguing with me about it. And he goes, "You need to make sure everyone knows the food stamp system, that I just lost it." I'm like, "Sir," and I point to a door, and I'm like, "There's a sign on that damn door that says that food stamps are down." He goes, "Well, I came in the other door." I'm like, "There's a sign on that door too." And I'm like, "And I just made an announcement 5 minutes ago that the food stamp system was still down." And at one point, I'm like, "And you know what, though? I could take something the size of a business card that says something is free. I'll put it in one place. You all will freaking see it and go to it. But you can't see the damn thing in your face." Oh, he just walked after that. Tammy just looked at me. I'm like, "Ask the damn question, please. I'm not doing any more overrides." And I walked away.
I've been trying to do other lives on other apps, and I've been making like signs. Oh, my phone's about to fall over. I've been making signs, and I've been taping them to my body just as like a hook. So I'll put like this on me. Like,
What the?
Oh my
if
god!
you're ever at
no.
He's
doing
telling
that,
himself.
you're like,
I think
EBT
that works.
system down. Don't yell at me.
I should have thought of that.
I love that. That's clever. I like that. I really like that.
EBT system, not my fault.
Yes, but I also got the funny story of a guy trying to buy beer one night. We have to card him. So I asked him for his card. I'm like, "Can I see your driver's license?" Because he looked a little young. He's like, "Oh, I don't have my driver's license." So I start pulling the beer away. He goes, "But I have something else." I'm like, "Okay." I thought maybe a passport, military ID, something I can look at. He hands me a piece of paper. I unfold it. I start bursting out laughing. He goes, "Can I get my beer?" I said, "No, you got to go give me your license." So my manager comes over and goes, "Calvin, why were you laughing so hard?" And I explained to her what happened. She goes, "Well, what was on the piece of paper?" I handed it. It was a ticket for drunken disorderly conduct.
Are you serious?
Yes. My manager, who we call Stoneface, could not stop laughing. And she was trying to kind of reprimand me for laughing, but she's laughing so hard herself that she's like, "I will get to yelling at you about laughing later, but right now I need to go to the office."
Oh,
is
man.
awesome.
That is hilarious. I think the
Well,
thing
I
that we can
actually
always
tried to choke out a customer once.
did they treated you really poorly?
Let's just say he did not want to give me his receipt, and he needed to. So we got into it. I blacked out.
I need you to be like,
In my hands,
I need my receipt.
yeah, really. And my hands were literally like this, and my wheelchair was moving toward him when I came to. And I'm like, "What the blank?" I got fired that night.
Oof. I am so
But that
sorry
was
to hear
overtime,
that.
so not because of that. Well, that had part to do with it, but not the total reason.
I think what happens is retail in itself has its own set of difficulties, right? Dealing with customers, highs, lows, everything in between. And something that I really love that Tiara said, "Working retail is my villain origin story." And something that I always try to, I would say, put out there is there's no shame in working retail or having a day job, because it's a necessity until we figure out, it's not forever, but it's until you figure out how to make writing more sustainable, or doing things that at least bring you passion and things that you like, so you can get closer to the life that you want. I like that, the villain origin story. And that's why for me, like, I'm just going to keep trying, because I know I'll figure it out eventually. I believe enough in myself to figure out what will work for me. But I'm also willing to take the hit and take 10 steps back in life to go 20 steps forward. And I also don't have the responsibility of children or a house or a greater responsibility. I'm lucky in that aspect where I'm able to I'm responsible to me, myself, and I in terms of my day-to-day. And not everybody can do that, right? If you have a family, you can't just restart your life over. And that's which is why it's based on where we're at in our lives and what's realistic.
So if you work in retail or customer service, whatever, one of the main rules is do not accept gifts from your customers.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaufman, I'm mainly speaking to you,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know if any of the rest of y'all have ever worked in retail or customer service or whatever. But so I had this one lady come in, and she had walked in, got her stuff, and was walking out. And she had a check in her hand. And I'm thinking, what in the world is this lady doing? It wasn't a receipt, it was a check. She showed it to me. I looked at it. I'm not going to say what was on it. It wasn't anything inappropriate, but it was something I couldn't take. So I just politely told her I couldn't take it. And she literally shook it in my face and said, "But do you see what this says on it?" I'm on the inside, I'm screaming, "Yeah, you little, you know what I do." But on the outside, I had to go, "Yes, I see it, but I still can't take it. We're not allowed." She called and reported me because of that.
I think a lot of the times customers don't always understand the systems that employees are signed up and agree to agree to work by.
Exactly.
And an act of, hey, I want to be kind can be mistaken if it's against the policy, right? And especially people need jobs. You get fired, you go get another job, but it's a process. So I think something that comes to mind as we're kind of talking about this and kind of pivoting this back into writing, clearly we're all dealing with things. We're all dealing with day-to-day stuff of responsibilities. Something that's been on my mind this past week or so, how do we find, and I would love to hear from you guys, how do you find or how do you get inspired to write? How do you get inspired to create your characters, tell the stories that you want to tell when you do not feel like doing it? I would love to talk through some strategies, tips, techniques to try to help each other out, because I know
that is actually a very good question. Mm-hmm. And may I start?
Sure, go for
it. For me, you all know I'm writing my memoir, as I said in the beginning. For me, I don't just wait until something comes to me to write about it all the time, unless it's like a new memory or something. Because again, it's a memoir, so of course, you have to write. It's a tell all be all, whatever kind of thing. But I've found that my process is waiting until I have like 3 or 4 memories all in one. That way I can get all those memories out at once, so I can clear my brain for more information if needed. So, but I found that relaxing before, like an hour or so before, relaxing for, that hour, calming my brain, getting my brain prepared for, okay, yeah, you're probably going to have a memory come up that's not going to be pretty, and you need to be prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's preparing for it. And then if it's a really hot and heavy subject, I will do like a 2-hour calm down session afterward. Mm-hmm. Because it'll get me riled up, and you all have seen me riled up, I'm sure, just from writing it. Or well, I know Kaufman has.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like an hour of relaxation before, and an hour or 2 relaxation afterward, to kind of prepare myself for writing, and then prepare myself to get myself away from what I've just written, to prepare myself for the next time I write, whenever that may be, whether it's the middle of the night or early in the morning or in the evening, like we did last night on my channel or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby,
thank you so much for sharing that. I think what's really powerful about it is the mental health aspect of it.
Yes.
Right. For us to get ourselves into that process, that flow state, that creativity, and especially if you're the type who you're working on a memoir, you're working on things that are more emotional or pull us down, you have to prepare yourself, have some type of routine It's a routine at the end of the day. You're just
Yes.
preparing yourself mentally, both in the pre, and then I love that you have a post routine. I think that
Yeah.
is so beautiful and
And that
so
was actually
powerful.
suggested. That was actually suggested by my therapist. The post.
I love that.
The post routine,
Mhm.
because I had one memory come up that I started writing about, and that memory I've been writing about, trying to write about for a while,
Mhm.
and I've been stuck on it because I can't get past it, or couldn't get past it.
Mhm.
And she gave me some suggestions, and that was one of them. And I tried it, and I would say within the first 30, I still kept going for like another hour and a half, but in the first 30 minutes, I could tell that I was actually a lot calmer
Mhm.
than what I was before having done that. Because I would just let myself get worked up, and then I would be worked up the whole night or the whole day, or whatever, and get all screwy in my brain. And
I think so. I definitely really, really like hearing that. I'm seeing here
Yes.
in the comments, Megan is saying, like researching, watching clips of their favorite shows and other stuff. I used to do
Yes.
that all the time. If I was feeling like depressed or I feel like I wasn't writing, I would go watch like my favorite show. Which back in the day for me, I used to love Dr. Horrible. Like it was so corny, or Buffy back in the day. I loved that stuff. And I feel like I'd get that in the vibe, or maybe watch a musical. I would get in it sometimes. Just
I'm
depending on
actually
what my flow
I'm
is.
actually rewatching Sabrina right now just to kind of get back into
Great.
that stuff.
Sabrina,
just rewatching
Sabrina
that.
was great. I didn't watch the original as much, but I know I loved the Netflix
Oh, I like them both.
readaptation of it.
I like
Different
them
style, completely different tone, of course,
Totally.
but both great for different reasons.
Well,
Mhm.
Duncan is very Sabrina 90s,
Mhm.
so that's why I'm watching that one.
That makes sense. Getting back into the vibe, and I know
also
something that a
don't
lot of
have
writers.
Netflix. I also don't have
Agreed.
Netflix anymore, so I can't watch that one. So
I know something a lot of the writers in the community do is listening to music. I know music can get people into the vibe.
Yes.
What about the rest of you guys? Any techniques that work well for you guys?
Music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
music's
yeah.
definitely for me. Music's inspired a couple of my stories. Some of them, I have 3 stories specifically that were actually inspired by songs. 2 of them are currently in the works, and hilariously, I found a song for one of my existing works, which I have yet to finish. I was literally listening to the other day, and I'm just sitting there like, wait a minute, these lyrics are really weird. Holy crap, it's actually describing a really pivotal scene in the very beginning of the story. It was hilarious. But I know for myself sorry, Chris.
No, that's fine. I was just
But
gonna
I know
say
for
I also
myself
use the
when
tarot.
when I have trouble writing, because I've had trouble writing recently, and past couple of days been getting a little more into it. I just moved to a different project, and I started actually treating it a little more seriously than I do like my other fan fictions, to see if that kind of made a difference. It actually has. I've actually been putting a little more effort into this one than I have my other works, simply because I'm treating it like a book rather than as simply something I'm just posting for fans to read. And that seems to be making a little bit more difference, is just simply treating it more seriously, I guess. Which, I mean, not saying like I don't treat my actual books seriously, like To Haven's Edge or Shifting Flame, just I think it's just more of the attitude that I have between my fan fictions versus my books. Changing my mind, changing my view on it just seemed to, I don't know, help a little bit.
I absolutely love that, Soul. And for those of you just hopping into the stream, we're actually just talking about how do you get motivated when you're struggling to write? Like, what techniques do you use? What's your process? And what do you do? Drop it down in the comments. I want to hear from you. I know we saw over here, Mary was saying pictures, either my own photos or most any others I see. Pictures are a great strategy. You guys know I've said this multiple times. I started on Scarecrow from based off of a picture on a free write, and I don't even think there's a scarecrow in the picture. I thought there was originally. I'm pretty sure it's like a tree, but that's where my mind went. And now 150,000 words later, and here's where we're at. Oh man. Let's see. Adrian, welcome, my friend. He's like, answer. I find habit more reliable than inspiration. And if you don't know what to write today, check your outline. Don't have an outline? Guess we figured out what you're going to write today. I absolutely love that. I think that's incredible. I think, Adrian, I actually completely agree with that. I used to, back in the day, write when I felt inspired. I would only write when I felt a high or a low. When I felt in the middle, I struggled to write. So my writing consistency was inconsistent. I wrote for long stretches for a few weeks, and then I would stop for a few months. I found that to get myself into writing consistently, I clearly had to start live streaming the process and hold myself accountable, because I'm like, I can't not show up once I've committed to live streaming. And that's just what worked for me. Nobody else should do what I'm doing. I'm doing the crazy 400 and something days now. So, but that's just something that helped me. And I think what it is you have to figure out a system of consistency. And then if you can also be inspired, I think that's a win. Let's see. And then, hey, what's up, Susan? Welcome, welcome. Courtney's like, I read my favorite books. Oh, that's awesome. Starting with your favorite reads is a great way, because you're like reading and then that inspires you. You're like, okay, now I'm going to start the writing vibes. I think that always works. Susan was saying, I get writer's block trying to find the perfect ending to the story. Okay, actually this is another question that comes to mind. Do you guys, anyone here, do you guys deal with writer's block, or have you dealt with it lately?
Yes.
And this is just something that I'm curious about. When you deal with writer's block, is it because it's a lack of motivation, or is it because it's a skill problem? Like, I don't know how to do this thing in the story. I just don't feel like doing it anymore. Or I just don't feel like writing.
Mine's didn't know how to do that in the story. I've been trying to write this Duncan kiss thing for a while, and it's not quite working. I got the kiss part right, but the stories that are happening around that is not quite coming out how it should for the tone of what it is. And also part of it is I think I don't know the parents enough yet, because I'm doing also I'm doing like discovery writing. So I wrote 1 and 2, but now I need to go learn a little bit more about the parents. And I just
it sounds like you know the solution.
Yeah, I know the solution. I need to write it.
It's just doing it. So write it. And I know that happens with writers. It happens a lot, right? You're like, I don't know how to solve the problem. So now I feel less motivated because it's going to take me extra work to figure out how to do it or to do the thing. Yeah, and I hear this. Susan said you struggle with finding the perfect ending to the story. There's no perfect ending to the story in this draft that you're writing. If assuming that you're working on the first draft of the story, just finish the rough draft. Write the rough draft. I would rather you have a horrible ending and you finish the draft than you be stuck on the ending and never finish the book. Finish the draft, and I guarantee you this happens. The more you write with the characters, you'll go back to the second draft. It'll probably come to you eventually.
Yes.
That might be my problem, because I tend to write the scene over and over and over to see if I can even find the right story. And then once I find the right story, then I can actually continue on with the draft. But I need to find the right story, the right hook, the right how they're all going to kind of go together, and then I can continue, and then draft after draft after draft. I just that's just how I work. But
go for it
real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I think my problem with mine is, with mine being the memoir, there's some stuff in it that's pretty bad. I'll just say that and let you all read it later and find out what I'm talking about. But I think for me, it's fear of being triggered and triggering those bad memories, especially one that I hadn't known about until recently. Actually, 2 that I hadn't known about till recently. Because I just had one the other day that I had no clue about, and I'm like, whoa, that was a stretch. That was new. But that one actually didn't bother me as bad as the first one, honestly. But I think the key, and this is going back on what Chris just said, but I think the key is finding a way to write it that you're comfortable with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have to write it 3 million times, I don't think somebody would have to write it 3 million times, but, well, maybe me, but that's beside the point.
A technique that has worked out very well for me, and this will actually work very well for discovery writers. I forgot what terms we came up with. We came up with some types of terms for plotters and pantsers. I forgot where. What was that?
Didn't write them down. Damn it!
I know I didn't. Dang it! I need to write now. What was that? It was like architects and something. Dragons or non-dragons. There we go. You're either a dragon or you're not. But so this works out very well for discovery writers. If you're writing something and you get stuck, or you're like, hey, I don't know what this character should be, I don't know what the ending should be, don't stop. Don't go back and rewrite it. The last thing. Force yourself to just write. Treat it as a free write opportunity. Pick something random. What did I do when I was stuck in the middle of my book? I like dragons, so I put in a dragon because I like dragons. I could have used a reference from a favorite book. I could have done something from Game of Thrones, because the thing is, you can change the things in a later draft. Mm-hmm. I write what you think the scene should be. Use it as a placeholder. You're like, hey, it has to do something. Use it as a placeholder. It might not have that much description, but you still write something there. And it's going to act as a placeholder. You'll get through that section. You'll get to the end. You're going to go to the next draft. When you go to the next draft, you're going to have so much more time to think about that problem. And then you're going to be working through the story. And when you get back to that scene, hopefully you've solved the problem.
I also think as you're typing or writing, I just think talking. Holy crap. I think I figured out what I also need to do. Focus on story A and see where story B fits. Just write story A first and just like finish that instead of trying to figure out what story B is going to be and how it's going to complement story A or not complement story A, however it's going to work. But I need to just write story A and just see what happens and then be like, oh, I'm short 5 pages. Let's just put in a scene here, scene there, and a scene there, and that's story
B. There you go.
It's kind of a thing.
I think I can understand that. Because I have a fan fiction that I got a comment on it the other day that they're not so patiently waiting for me to finish it, which I had to laugh at. I can't go to the next chapter though, as much as I want to. I cannot go to the next chapter because I don't know what's happening in the current one. In the current chapter, okay, so it's my fan fiction that's an alternate universe for One Piece where things have changed. I know Luffy's going to beat Kuro, but because there's another character there that wasn't there originally, and because the characters are a little different, I don't know what's going to happen there. So even if I write the next moment, which is Sanji and Baratier, Mihawk and Don Krieg, even if I know what's going to happen with them, I still don't know exactly what's going to happen because I don't know what's going to happen in the chapter before. And I can't do that. I can't go next. I can't go to the next one until I finish this one, even though I'm struggling with it. Because otherwise, it leaves too much to be changed.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Very frustrating.
Plus, if you're posting are you posting the chapters one at a time above, or are you writing the whole story out before you post them?
This one, it's chapter by chapter. Most of my stories, what I do is I do two to three, maybe even up to 5 chapters at a time, and then I post them. And then I do the next few chapters and so on. This is the only one so far that I'm doing chapter by chapter. And part of that is because it's technically so much shorter than all of my other works.
Yeah, when you're doing it chapter by chapter, it makes it hard to just skip ahead. I mean, I've done what Kaufman's talked about, where I've gotten stuck on a chapter. If I can't, after I think a half hour to an hour, if I cannot break through whatever the fuck is blocking me, I move on. I'll put a note in, come back and work on this chapter later, and usually something comes to me, and it's just like. And the problem is sometimes, as Kaufman's seen, it's like I've made chapters that I've had to delete because it's like he's right. They don't add anything to the story other than a moping person.
Calvin, I know what you're talking about.
Yes, yes, you should. You did the Bible on that, so I followed you. And your recommendation was right. The more I thought about it, the more I'm like, I like it, but it doesn't really add anything except a word count, and I don't need the word count.
And I think that this is one of the reasons that I like editing, coaching, working on other writers' stories, is because storytelling for me has always come really natural. But I only realized through this part of my journey that it's really through understanding the character journey, and how the characters, the plot, the things should really be serving the protagonist. So that's really, really cool. I wanted to make a couple call outs here. I saw, let's see, where were we at? I saw a really great comment here, Lynn. This was from our last question, but this is a great strategy. I wanted to call it out. Lynn was saying that the way that she gets into her vibe, she puts herself in the place where she wants to go write. Getting on the treadmill with her standing desk. So even if it doesn't feel like writing, she's there. Problem is when I can't get on it. And I think this is one of those great habit strategy recommendations where you want to make the habit as easy as possible to achieve. So if you know that you struggle writing, then next to your desk, put the computer, the notepad, the whiteboard, whatever you do to get into your routine, right there. Make it as easy as possible.
I tell people that when they're struggling with writing, getting themselves in front of the computer, if you can write for 5 minutes a day, call that a win.
Yep.
And then build that from there. Like, because there are full books that were written on half-hour lunch breaks. So if you can't write for a 3-hour block, that's fine. Write it for 10 minutes a day. Like, get it.
I wouldn't even say that. I'd say if you can at least get 5 words done, maybe even that would be enough.
Exactly.
I always like to say it like this. I would rather you write for 5 minutes a week than 0 minutes 1 month.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it's like Stephen King. I think it's Stephen King or James Patterson. One of the two men write 6 pages a day.
Stephen King.
On writing. That's Stephen King's on writing. Stephen King is a notorious discovery writer.
Yeah.
He is very much like, you should write this much every day, and you should just feel what you want to write when you start writing. He's all about trust your creative inspiration, but holding yourself accountable to write.
Yeah. But he writes 6 pages a day, and then the next day he'll go back and review what he wrote the previous day, and then write 6 more pages that next day. What did you just do, Chris?
Throw it out. Throw it out. Go back and read it and just throw it out.
I love that.
This
By
ain't
the
no
way,
book.
welcome to the stream, Fellowship of the Tables. I love that name. Sorry, I just had to call it out.
That's a cool name.
So I think this is a great moment too. If anybody's struggling with writing, obviously we're writing here every day. So come write with us if you're not feeling motivated. Because clearly after 400 something streams, I'm not stopping anytime soon. And our writers group is here every Wednesday. So, Chris, it looked like you were going to say something.
And this is when I'm going to log off in the middle because I need to go. So
No, you just said that we're here every Wednesday, and I was like, "Hi, see, we're here."
But on that note, I think now is the perfect time. We're going to hop into a writing sprint. So, I have my stuff all queued up. I'll throw up the music. Whether you're brainstorming, writing, or editing, it's all part of the process. Or maybe you're researching your author brand. Maybe you're developing a cover design. Maybe you're just feeling motivated by having writers here. Whatever it is, come join us. We're going to get into it. I'm going to set 30 minutes for the first sprint. We'll come back. We'll chat. I know a couple of you guys have to take off a little early today, which is super cool. We'll come back. We'll chat some more about writing shenanigans and see what's on our mind.
And I'm using actual paper this time, just saying.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes that's what you got to do. Sometimes if your process is stuck, you just got to try something different. And it's such a different vibe writing on paper, using a typewriter, writing somewhere in public. I wrote my first book in high school through about 10 notebooks, writing in the back of the class every day. That's what worked for me.
I thought I lost access to my final draft because it's Final Draft 11, not the newest one. And I just updated it and it works. And I'm like, oh, one less thing I have to worry about. Now I can maybe write in Final Draft. Maybe that will help my own creativity.
Woo!
With
I
that being said,
absolutely
though,
love
I
it.
need to go and do a tarot event tonight. So enjoy the rest of the writers' stuff. I'm going to take off, and I will see you guys hopefully next week, but unless Target has scheduled me. So,
Awesome. Chris, thanks so much for joining us, my friend. We'll catch you next week.
see ya.
All right, friends. So before we hop into this writing sprint, if you are enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. We're here every day with the Right Now community, whether you need daily writing motivation, our weekly writers group, author interviews. This is the first week back of the Create Right Now podcast. And our podcast this Sunday is about how do you market and brand yourself when you would much rather be writing. So Sunday is going to be awesome. We have our critique stream. We have the book club just around the corner. We have the Faded Fantasy Fiction Contest in the spring and much, much more. So make sure to tap that follow or subscribe button and you'll be alerted when we go live. All right. So I wanted to get that subscribe in. I got it all set here. All right, friends. So whether you're brainstorming, writing, or editing, that's all part of the process. Come join us because it's time to write now. All right, so that is the writing sprint. We started off with what was that? We started off with 6 and we're down to 2. Oh man, how did that writing sprint treat you, my friend?
Megan nearly beat me.
Oh, Matt, really? Megan beat you? Okay,
No,
let's see.
nearly. She had 1040. I had 1060.
Nice. Oh man, Susan was at 336. It's okay, Susan. I think I was closer to you. Granted, I was revising again. I was revising this next chapter that I'm on because I've introduced like a new character. I'm trying to make sure that I get the character vibe right. But I think I like it. Yeah, I think I like it. But how much did I actually get through? They're about 600 words, but is there more revising
Nice.
editing? Let's see. This is thanks, Penumbra. Yeah, if you guys ever want to use the timers for your own writing, what's the timer called? I use I think it's called Pomodoro.com or Pomo Focus. Oh yeah. It's really good. They just have
Pomodoro timer.
Just cute colored timers. I dropped the link in the chat if you guys ever want to use it. I like nice and simple, so we're not distracted. I like doing up my putting my own background on, so that way the timer is just. But I think it's the color is visually appealing, and I'm pretty sure you can change. There's a lot of color options. Fellowship, wow, brutal sprint, knocked out 4 people. And you know what? Only the real writers are here now. Fellowship. Now you're like the strong writers survive. No, it's usually all of them actually stick around through the whole stream. But I think it just happened to be something with today. They just all had other things going on. So, but that was kind of funny. Which, of course, Soul, you continue to get the gold star for 33 sessions. Soul's the only one. Like, I'm not surprised. I feel like if Soul ever didn't show up to a meeting, it would not feel like Writers Group anymore. Oh man, but I get so much value out of this our weekly meeting. It definitely motivates me, and I love checking in on everybody. Let's see, Megan. Oof, man, that was close sprint. We still got another sprint, so I will beat that count tonight. Dang, someone's motivated.
Yeah, you're not going to beat me.
Yeah, you're right. We still got another sprint. Well, we'll hop into another sprint in just a bit. Nice. Stephanie got 3 chapters edited.
Nice.
What's up, Bazinga? That's a great progress, my friend. Awesome. Stephanie, are you working on your fantasy story? Or are you doing the serial killer one? Let's see. Oh, I know, Kitty. So this is our one of our mascots here in the stream.
Yeah, this is.
They wasn't ready for their guest, their solo spotlight entrance.
Yeah, you love to be the center of attention, don't you, Crow?
That makes 2 crows. My crow loves to as well. Oh man. Let's see, fella. Like, I'm not sure I want to sprint with you guys. I know because everybody kicked off. You know what's funny is we do sprints every single day. So it's like this is just like another round of sprinting. It's all in a day's work for us, right? Our sprints, friendly competition, but the only competition that we're in is the one with ourselves, right? Because it's our own goals that we're really trying to match. My goal for February is I'm trying to get through 70,000 words. And I know I can never do the same writing volume as Chat Soul over here. Like that's not my vibe. But it doesn't make me feel less or worse about it because I know my style is I feel great if I get between 3 to about 700-800 words in a writing sprint because just the way that my mind works. I go at a lower word count, but I feel great about the way that I'm able to form adjectives, thoughts, and ideas together. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, and I know my own vibe. Yeah, no, I tend to do in like these writing sprints. I think my average is like 800, somewhere around 850. I just write fast and definitely a pantser for a lot of my stuff, but it's worked out for me. So.
Yeah. Clearly, right? And I think part of that is figuring out the process that works for us individually. So I'm curious, did you always, when you first started writing, did you have an idea of what your writing process was like back then? Or would you say that your process has kind of evolved over time?
I think it's more evolved over time. When I first started writing, keep in mind, I was 12. I was 12. I wasn't even in high school yet. So I was just kind of, I like this story. I'm going to write it down and I'm going to do something with it eventually. And then when I wrote my first fan fiction, I think that's actually when I started really getting my own kind of writing style, even if I wasn't like actively like writing like I am now.
That makes sense.
I actually found my very first fan fiction like last year, and oh god, the cringe. I'm almost embarrassed about it.
Oh man.
But
I didn't save my first fan fiction stuff. It was all posted to a role-playing forum online. I wasn't quite so, I mean, I can go look back at my first, actually, no, I do have my first writing where it was. I can always
mine was on fan fiction, and I actually wasn't sure it still existed. So when I started writing fan fictions again, I decided to look that up, see if I could find it. Yeah, it was still there, and I'm just sitting there reading it, just like,
you're like, what is this nonsense?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I have.
It was just really bad. The storyline was actually not half bad, but
second. I was like, I don't actually. I'm surprised I don't have the first stuff. My first writing stuff that I had embarked on was rewriting. My parents got me a Write Your Story kit where you would like put the pictures together and you write like 3 to 4 lines for the page. And I like loved writing, so I was like, okay, I can do a better retelling of the entire Super Mario franchise. So I embarked on a 20-part book series when I was 7 years old. That was my first introduction to it. I wrote all 20 books, but I only got and each of them were only like, they weren't great. They were like 10 to 15 pages a piece. And like the character, and I made designs for everything, and it's just like, it's so funny. I don't have it on me. I'll have to bring it. I'll have to find where I put it. But it's funny because like the opening picture is like the back of like, it looks like a character and there's hair, and it's supposed to be the back of Mario walking to a swing set. And I wrote in the scene, Mario's hair. And I even still had chapter titles. Chapter 1 was Mario has no friends.
Actually, I just remembered something. I think the first time I actually really wrote something, yeah, I don't know why I didn't count this. Back in middle school, the teacher so my book has a dedication in it, and my teacher is actually mentioned in that dedication. And the first thing I really wrote, I cannot believe I forgot this, was actually like this history story thing for his class. But yeah, no, my style definitely did change over the years, but I think there was still some of it in it, and it was definitely I definitely focus on description, surroundings, and the characters themselves over the plot. Now, yeah, no, I still kind of do that. I do the plot second. I do the characters first, and the plot and description seconds. Like what I'm writing right now, it's got the characters, but the description is barely there, and the plot it's got bare bones to it.
And is that the scene that you were working on in this last sprint?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. It's just the beginning to a new fan fiction that I'm kind of trying out. It's been kind of in my head for the couple of days. So I figured I'd actually give it a try. The characters are there. It starts out with a 10-year-old and 12-year-old. So start out as kids, but I know I need to work on the description more, so I'm gonna go back and tighten that up later. But right now I'm kind of more focused on introducing these characters and then kind of hinting at maybe what's going to happen later on. So,
well, that sounds super cool. And it's One Piece, right?
Yeah, most of the time, unless I say otherwise, just assume my fan fiction is One Piece.
It's always One Piece. Okay, cool.
I have one other fan fiction, and it is a One Piece Harry Potter crossover. I actually did that one on request, though.
So what will the next crossover be?
I'm still waiting back to hear from somebody. They wanted to do a collaborative One Piece Pokemon.
Oh, that'd be interesting. One Piece Pokemon. I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, catching monsters on the seven seas, essentially, type thing, right?
Yeah, I've
Collecting some type of
seen a
monster.
couple ideas for One Piece and Pokemon, and I've seen a mix between it's the world of One Piece, but Pokemon exists there, or like in like the traditional sense. But then there was one fan fiction I saw that was it was more like Pokemon Ranger, where each person had only one Pokemon, and they could temporarily befriend another Pokemon.
Interesting.
So yeah, I at this point I don't think they're going to get back to me, but that would be my next one.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun to write. I what am I working on? So I don't know if you saw, I did a story excerpt reading on the stream yesterday. What's today? Wednesday? I think I did it yesterday. I don't know. All the days just start blending together for me. I'm like, I crossed 400 and then I'm like, all right, I'll be here until I get to 500. We'll see what happens. But I did an excerpt reading, and it's more because like I was working on this section of the story and I was just trying to make sure that it made sense. But essentially the characters, Scarecrow, Crow, Pixie, travel to this like really like this warm and inviting room, and it's really like I want it to feel very homely and very warm and welcoming, and there's a fire in the middle, and they're talking and they're kind of paying attention to this fire, which is kind of strange. And then the crows, they hear squawking, he's getting pulled into the cushions, like he's getting absorbed by the cushions themselves. And then the pixie's like walking towards the fire, and then Scarecrow feels drool, and then the bookshelf is opens its like wide cannibalistic mouth and then tries to eat him. And then the pixie disappears. Huh?
It sounds like a mimic.
It is. That's exactly what it's the closest thing I would say is it's basically it's like a village of mimics, actually. That nobody said mimic yet, but that is exactly what they are. I'm calling them their animate cannibals, but they are mimics. That's essentially what they are.
That's actually a better name than mimic.
Yeah, I mean, when we think of mimics are always really with like video game culture, especially like Final Fantasy. I see mimics in Dark Souls series.
I think more Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, actually that's probably a good call out. But like, so they get captured, and I've been developing for this next chapter the leader of this organization, or just this tribe, and I ultimately landed on a Dr. Frankenstein type character called Dr. Fox. And they're just a very strange, peculiar character that talks in riddles. And their ability is that they can bring objects to life. Hence why all these things come to life. But the only way that these things stay alive is cannibalism, because they have to consume energy.
Neat.
So I'm like playing around because like the thing of the mimics attacking, like that's cool. But then I need this leader, this Dr. Fox, to be as strange and peculiar and inviting and creepy as these little cannibal creations. So that's kind of what I'm like trying to think through right now in terms of like body language and the way it looks. He wears a mask, so the mask in itself creates like a creepy vibe, but I'm trying to make him very like almost like bigger than life in a sense, like very boisterous in his personality. But he really only speaks in riddles. So he's one of those like very, very crazed, maybe a little chaotic, little fire and chaos there, because there's not enough of that in the last Scarecrow.
Oh yeah, always gotta have more.
So that's what I'm working on. I'm doing character development. And let's see, Penumbra is working on almost done with part 1 of The Moon is Waxing. The toxic tea vendor is being arrested. The clueless husband donated his kidney and part of his liver to his soon-to-be ex-wife to make amends for. Well, that's kind of cool. Toxic tea vendor. Sounds like you got quite a mystery plot going on over here. You got quite like a mystery and an intrigue, which actually sounds really cool. Penumbra, it sounds like you're on a good roll here, and I think we're on a good roll. I'm like feeling inspired just talking through things myself. So on that note, let's hop into a second writing sprint. Let's do it. Let's get the writing vibes in. I have another 30 minutes queued on the clock. Let's see. And there we go. So we got 30 minutes. As we're hopping into it, if you have not already, let's see. Let's all be honest, Kaufman. You're writing a book hoarder's worst nightmare. A hungry person eating bookcase. So I saw you throw it up there. That was hilarious, Maggie. That was absolutely hilarious. I missed that at first. A book hoarder's worst. So maybe that should be the sample chapter. Maybe that should be the sample chapter, and that'll get all the readers to just like have this nightmare of their bookcase eating them alive, and they're like, "I have to know more." And now they're going to look at bookcase differently. Oh man! And you know what's funny is the bookcase didn't even come to me till the second draft of it either. The second draft of it. The original draft, it was just a book. It was like this flying, like flapping book, and I'm like, well, that's not creepy enough. Let's do a bookcase.
Are you sure that wouldn't be creepy enough? Because my first thought is the monster book of monsters.
The monster book. Well, you know what? What I haven't decided yet is if the bookcase itself, because right now the way it's described is the books are the books are kind of spaced, so it's like sporadic. So one shelf, the books are spaced. So when it looks down at Scarecrow, the space between the books looks like eyes, because I want it to feel like it's a natural part of the thing. And then the empty shelf beneath it opens up, and then that's where the mouth is. So I mean, I don't know, but I haven't decided if the books come out of it yet. That's what I'm not sure yet. If I want a book to come out of it or for it to be a separate entity. Because I think like a hungry book I think that would just be great. Oh man, I know, the horror. Ravenous books with bat books attacking Scarecrow. You keep making it worse. I know, like Scarecrow and friends don't have enough problems. Like I said, this is not a kind world. Like you do not want to be lost in. You do not want to end up in this world. There's a reason that it's literally at the end of the world. Like there's a reason. Like, which is why there's such like that contrast that Scarecrow still continues to remain positive and hopeful in a world that is like really not very happy. Fellowship, I guess I won't be sleeping tonight. You're going to be looking at your bookshelf all night, aren't you? Like looking at the bookcase like, all right, it's just me. That's like after you watch a horror movie and like, you know, it's not real, right? It's like something like really creepy, like some supernatural nonsense or horror vibes. And then you're trying to go to sleep and you're like, all right, it's not real. It's not real. Oh man, Mary, time enough at last. Yep, that totally is like a Twilight Zone vibe. The number, and 3 chapters later, Scarecrow looks up, and 3 of the bat books are hanging in a corkscrew. Oh man, oh that's funny. That's so funny. I could totally get distracted on this forever. But where was I? I was like, quick add. Let's go Discord. Anybody not in the Discord, come join us. The WriteNow Discord is awesome. Chat Soul is our excellent moderator over here. Yeah, it's pretty active. We got a bunch of writers. If you're looking for an extension to the live streams and you want to connect with the other writers, you want to play writing games, you just want to chat about writing stuff, memes, you need help on your work, you want to post stuff, you learn about contests, like there's so many things I've added to it. The WriteNow Discord is the place. It's the invite link is linked down in the YouTube description, and I'll drop it down in the chat. Yes, sometimes the link expires, but I just dropped it down in the chat. Come join us over at Discord if you're not already a member. Yeah, and come join this cool community. We have writers of all different genres and all different skill levels. And I think that's the beautiful part of this community. All right. And on that note, let's write. So I have the second writing sprint, 30 minutes on the clock. I believe in us. We're going to try to see if somebody can beat Chat Soul here in word count. And look at that IRL. That is not happening. All right. And we'll see what is possible. So 30 minutes on the clock. Whether you're brainstorming, writing, or editing, it's time to write now. All right. And that is the writing sprint. How'd that treat you, Soul?
Yeah, I doubled what I did. So
Like, sounds like you were able to make some progress on your end.
yep.
Nice. Let's see. Like, it looks like Megan got 460. So Soul, you probably take home the crown. You're like what, 3,000?
No, not quite that. Like 2,200.
Still pretty good. It's really good. Me and my 300 words over here. Let's see. I'm pretty happy. I got what was it? I got a riddle. I was trying to figure out like. So, random question. When you think of a pixie from mythology, what do you think a pixie is? From just culture, what comes to mind for pixie?
Something. Okay, so like the first thing that comes to mind, I would say something that resembles Tinkerbell,
Mm-hmm. But different
but
than a fairy. So, like fairy, pixie. Like, how would you like visualize that differently, or do you see them as like the same type?
no, I don't see them. I see them as the same size.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so both, like, you know, basically like tiny little humans with wings.
Yep.
But I see a pixie as more of a trickster rather
Yep.
than a fairy.
Yep. More
So
of a
fairy I
trickster.
see is kind of like the I don't want to say good
The
guy because
good
it's not
fairies-
entirely not exactly what I mean, but
person to be like the good of the two, whereas pixies are known for being the more mischievous of the two.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pixies are the ones that, like, if you're missing your left shoe, they probably hit it somewhere. Or if you get turned around and you don't realize why, they probably cast some kind of illusion or something and tricked you into going the wrong way or something like that. Basically harmless little stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think that's about accurate. Scarecrow doesn't even know what a pixie is. So like I intentionally withheld that I didn't show her wings on her reveal. So in the first couple chapters, they don't even know that she has wings because she hides it under her cloak until they're taken captive. And I was like, the reader obviously is going to know what a pixie is, but I think it just adds to the kind of like the wait. She could have like escaped easily, but really she doesn't remember how to fly. But you know. Looks like we got some good words here, Megan. All right, 460. Rachel got through half a chapter of draft edits. 908 words. Nice. Cheers. Putting a dragon on it, Rachel. I see you. Nice. Or it sounds like we're making some good progress today. I'm pretty happy. I didn't get like a lot in, but I like really need to get through this part. The rest of the chapter is actually gonna go pretty easy once I finish this the setup. So I'm pretty good. I know we went a little over today, but we had some good conversations, inspiration, work in 2 solid writing sprints. So I'm very happy about what we accomplished. And I think that was a good writers group today. I know we'll be back next week with the next writers group meeting. WriteNow Writers Group every single Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be here. So we'll definitely be here. Maybe I'll be here. And we'll be here. For those of you who just want to keep on writing and continue along with me as I'm trying to achieve 7,000 words in 1 month. We'll see. Not 7,000, 70,000. Let me clarify. As I'm trying to achieve this mission, come join me tomorrow. What's tomorrow is Thursday, which means writing sprint is 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. So my normal like afternoon time slot I'm getting used to during the week. So come back, join for writing sprints tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, and we got a lot going on this weekend. Saturday is our channel member critique group. Join button below if you guys want to come join the critique group. $5, super cheap. Last month it's going to be $5, so come join. And then Sunday is the podcast. We got the author tuber Emma Bennett is going to be joining, and she's going to actually be sharing her journey of how she's published. She's 15 books and award-winning author. So I'm very excited. She's going to share how her technique towards author branding that has allowed her to get the level of success that she has as a full-time author. So I'm really excited to that. That's our podcast on Sunday. And I think that's everything that I got for you. I'm so I'll let you do your outro.
So I'm Chat Soul, and I have the unusually high word count.
And I'm Kaufman, but unfortunately, this brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. Once again, I'm Kaufman, and this is Chat Soul, and we'll catch you on the next stream. Stay creative, writers. What does creative writing mean to you? I'm Kaufman, and I'm on a mission to connect with every creative writer in the world. But I need your help. The world is constantly changing, which is why it's our duty, no, it's our responsibility to inspire creativity. My creative writing tips, tricks, and strategies are going to help you become a better writer, so that way you can beat procrastination. Do you have a story that you're dying to tell, but you don't know what to do next? I can actually help you craft a story today.